The Apostle Paul once told Timothy, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." Now, pause and think about that for a moment. Not popularity with contentment, not money with contentment, not status with contentment, but godliness with contentment. Meaning that one of the greatest form of wealth a human being can possess in life is inner peace. Because many people today have achievements, but no peace. A lot of persons have different opportunities around them, but no acceptance. Many people are progressing externally, but secretly inside of them, they are rejecting who they are. And this is the quiet crisis of our generation. People are trying to become more without becoming comfortable with who they already are. So today, let's talk about contentment, being comfortable in your own skin. First of all, let's correct a common misunderstanding. Contentment is not laziness. No, it is not lack of ambition. Contentment is not settling for less. Contentment is a deep and stable peace with who you are, with how you were wired, and your present season of life. Now, here is something that is important and worth noting. Contentment is not natural. Contentment is one of the things that is learned, because human beings naturally drift towards comparison, insecurity, and dissatisfaction. That's why two people can have similar lives, yet one lives in peace, while the other person lives in constant frustration. Because contentment is not based on possession, it is actually based on perception. It is the ability to appreciate your journey without constantly despising your present stage in life. Now, let me ask this honest question. If contentment is so powerful, why then do people struggle with it? It is because of the enemy of contentment, comparison. Comparison causes a fight within, so that someone begins to fight the natural wiring of their lives. Many people are secretly at war with themselves. Some hate their pace. They feel they are too slow compared to other people. Others dislike their personality. They think, I should be louder than I am. I should actually be more outgoing. Oh, I wish I could be like the other person. But the issue is that they don't understand that that is comparison. There are some other persons who are struggling with the body that they have, or their background, or the process that life is taking them through. Not because these things are truly wrong, but because comparison distorted their self-perception. What about social media? That one is like an amplifier that brings about this distortion that I'm talking about. Because every day people are exposed to edited successes, curated lifestyles, and highlighted reels. And slowly, artificial inadequacy is created in the minds of people. Because people begin to compare their own real lives with someone else's carefully selected moments. That's why Theodore Roosevelt wisely said, comparison is the thief of joy, because comparison quietly tells people who they are is not enough. And once self-rejection becomes normal, guess what happens? Peace disappears. So, the question now is it truly possible for someone to be ambitious, for someone to desire growth, without rejecting themselves and where they find themselves today? Absolutely, it is. It is contentment that makes that possible. Why? Because contentment gives you internal stability so that you are able to pursue growth. Healthy growth is built on self-acceptance, not self-hatred. One of the strongest pillars of contentment is authenticity. That is embracing your strength, your weakness, your uniqueness, your personality, and even your imperfections, instead of constantly trying to imitate someone else. Because the truth is, you can admire others without abandoning yourself. Many people think that motivation will come when they criticize themselves. But the truth is that lasting growth comes from stable identity of who you are. You can want more without hating where you are today. You can improve your life without insulting yourself every step of the way. There are some persons that are so judgmental of who they are. They don't want to associate with anything that has to do with them. Where they came from, their background, the school they went to, the story of their life. They don't want anything to do with it. Why? Because they feel that by doing that, by rejecting who they are able to spring up forward. But that's not how it works. Truth is that growth becomes dangerous when rejection becomes the fuel. I will say it again, and I want it to land deeply inside your soul. Growth becomes unhealthy the moment self-rejection becomes what is fueling it. So, you now ask yourself, the Apostle Paul was talking about great gain that you have with contentment. Are there truly gains in contentment? Oh yes, there are. There are lots of gains. And let me tell you something about the gain that contentment has. The gain contentment has are those gains that people are desperately looking for out there, but don't know how to find. For example, peace of mind. So that contentment helps you to stop competing unnecessarily. It tells you to stop feeling pressured to constantly prove yourself. And it also helps your mind to become quieter. The second thing that you gain from contentment is authentic confidence. Not arrogance, not performance, but confidence that is rooted in self-acceptance. I know who I am, I accept myself, and I'm confident of who I am. You become less dependent on the applauses that come from outside when you have this self-confidence that I'm talking about. Another gain of contentment is emotional stability. Contentment is what helps you to reduce emotional desperation. That urge to make decisions so that you can measure up with what is happening out there. Contentment helps you to reduce it and remove it from your life. The fourth and final gain I want to talk to you about that contentment brings to you is healthy growth. Do you know, ironically, people who accept themselves properly often grow better than those that reject themselves. You know why? Because growth comes from purpose, not from panic. So let's bring it all together so that it can make a bit of sense. Contentment is not the absence of ambition. It is the absence of self-war when you are not in agreement with yourself. That's what contentment will help you remove. It is the ability to grow without constantly rejecting yourself. And many people today are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they are fighting their own wiring every day. They've refused to accept themselves the way they are. They are trying to become someone else. They are trying to match with every trend that they see out there. They are trying to prove that they are enough, not to anybody, but to something that is at war with them within. But peace begins when you stop measuring your value through comparison and start embracing your authentic design, because your uniqueness is not a mistake. It might actually be a part of your assignment. If you are able to find your assignment, you would naturally see where all those things you consider to be a disability, a disappointment, where all of them fit in perfectly. Your assignment reveals that to you. So, what are you meant to do with all this information you've gotten? All I need you to do is take out a moment and sit, reflect. What is the one thing I constantly criticize myself about? Is it the pace of my life? Is it my personality? Is it my process? Or even the background where I'm coming from? Pause and ask yourself, what if these things are not actually weaknesses for you to fight and hate yourself about, but they are strength that you just need to study and understand better? What if there are things that you just need to reframe? What if there are things that you just need to embrace? What if there are things that you need to develop wisely? Because contentment does not mean that you're going to stop growing. It simply means that you stop growing from rejection or from self-rejection. Because every time you're rejecting yourself and calling that growth, that will never give you true fulfillment. What brings true fulfillment is actually contentment. Why? Because godliness with contentment is a great gain. And you can want more without hating where you are today. This has been Ace with Okwi the Wealth Maestro. I want you to join me on all social media platforms at Okwi W Maestro. There are a lot going on there. Information is being shared, insights are being released, and with that, we are able to achieve clear excellence. Be content.